Hey everybody, this is Strategic Command Total Realism Project training on sea combat. This applies to both Europe and world versions of TRP. I've got a preset that I've started already on Hot Seat to just show you some stuff with ships. This is probably going to be the more shorter of the training modules. There's not much to cover. Because kind of sea combat is almost straightforward. It's not as complicated as land combat is and air combat. On the top right of your screen, you'll see the highlights and the list of stuff that I want to try to cover in here. So first, let's go over subs. So subs, submarines, they have that's this section right up here that I'm going to be highlighting right here. So submarines have a zone of control, and they're the only ship that has a zone of control. Other ships, you need two or more to exert a zone of control. And then they exert a zone of control of 7 action points. But subs by themselves can exert a zone of control of 7 action points. So, which is why sometimes you'll see like destroyers can't move up against them, and things like that. So you'll see like you're trying to move up and see a zone of control, and it's going to use 7 points to get next to these. Whereas if you're trying to just move to a capital ship, if you look at this carrier, I can move up really easily, but if there's 2 ships, then they exert a zone of control. So it's important to remember that because it's made to help protect subs and survive, because it was just way too easy to kill them in the base game. So remember, if you can't move your ship up, it's because you don't have enough action points. So subs as well, they have a 30% dive chance. It's flat. It doesn't matter how high your ASW is. They always will have a 30% dive chance. ASW just increases the damage you can do to the sub, and then the sub can increase their sub tech to increase to negate the damage you can do to them, and then vice versa. So it's kind of like the same thing we've covered in other tutorials, where it's just a simple adding 1 1 1 1 1 1 and always flatlining it, as long as tech stays even. The subs have a 20% chance to retreat, and they can retreat up to 6 hexes. It's an additional thing for them to be able to try to run away from being destroyed. They also are the only ship that gets a prepared attack bonus of 50%. None of the other ships get a prepared attack bonus. So so be wary that if you leave your ships next to a sub, that they will get a bonus attack, and they may do some serious damage to you. So you don't want to end your turn with ships right up against a submarine, at least 1 hex over. Subs also have a sight range, and I didn't write this down, and I should have. They also have a sight range of 2. So they can always see what's around them up to 2 hexes. Now keep in mind, there is an issue with the game. The sight range only works from the initial hex that you're on and the hex you move to, not in the hexes in between. And if you move to, like, if you do something like you move here, and then this hex will give you the sight range of 2, but then if you move here, then it will only do a sight range of 1. So it's only the very first hex that you stop in that gives you the sight range of 2, and then after that, it's only a sight range of 1. So subs do have that sight range, and it does come in handy because all other surface combat ships only have a sight range of 1. I have had instances where my sub was nice and silent mode, and it makes it harder to hit them. And I've seen, combat ships, destroyers just fling right past me, going back and forth, not having a clue that I was right there and I can see everything that they were doing. So it comes in a little handy. Again, help protect subs so that they have a higher chance of staying alive. So let's see, did the capital ship supply? So subs as well, even if they're at 0 supply, if they are destroyed, they come back at a 50% discount. Again, it's to encourage especially the Axis player, Germany, to keep rebuilding their subs and bringing them back out to try to hit the convoys. To keep the Axis busy. You want, as the Axis, to keep the British Navy busy in the Atlantic. And especially you want to not suicide your Italian fleet or your German fleet, because let's say you suicide them on some sort of magical run, then there's no reason for the British Navy to sit there. So then when Japan joins the war against the US, they now have to deal with the US fleet and the British fleet. Sometimes the best thing to do with your Axis fleet, as Italy and Germany, is to do nothing. Because by you keeping your fleet there, it forces the British player to keep their fleet nearby as a countermeasure, which takes pressure off of Japan. So again, these are strategies. I know I'm going over strategy through a training thing, but it's something to consider when you're using your fleets and stuff. So okay, so carriers. The difference between carriers and escort carriers. Carriers can damage land units, except for tanks and light armor. Escort carriers cannot damage light units, but they both do morale damage to units, so they can support land attacks by lowering morale. Carriers also have a visual range of base of 5. So the carrier unit can see 5 within all of his range around him, while an escort carrier can only see 3. This will increase by 1 for each level of long range that is tech that's increased. So then your visual range can basically expand out. So as the war progresses, your carriers can see further and further out from their original baseline. Transport tech. So some people are like, well, why do I care about transport tech? Well, transport tech helps level off. So as the ship's damage and a plane damage increases, they do more and more damage to a transport. So if you increase your transport tech, not only can you build more transports, but then your transports get some natural defenses against being attacked by planes and ships. So it makes it harder for them to be destroyed. So there is an incentive to build them. Amphib techs. For each level, it's the same exact thing that I said for transport, the amphibs as well. Each level that they go up increases their natural defenses against other ships and planes attacking them. But then amphibs have this additional thing. So a level 0 amphib has 0 entrenchment. They cannot do anything. And so I'll show you that right over here. If you look at Germany, they have an amphib right here, and you see at 0 attack, that's 0. It's 0 entrenchment. They have none. So, but at level 1 through 2, if you see the section that I've highlighted on the top left, amphibs have a 1D entrenchment. At level 3 and 4, they get 2D entrenchment. And at level 5, they actually get 3D entrenchment. So there is an incentive to keep increasing that level. I mean, think about it. If you're doing D-Day and you're doing a 3D entrenchment, you just hit once and you've just de-entrenched the unit right on the coast, and then you can start attacking it. It negates your opponent's defenses. It helps move the Pacific along quite a bit as well. So amphib combinations. So let's take a look here. For amphib combinations, you first want to de-entrench your enemy. And the way you use that is through your amphib units. Your amphib units have the natural de-entrenchment, because when you're out in the ocean and you don't have any medium bombers or anything like that can reach, you may be able to get strategic bombers. There's only way to de-entrench your opponent is through amphibs. So you first want to de-entrench. So let's do a declaration of war on the Philippines here with Japan. Now, this is a modified version, so there's no US, really nothing here. And since this is a minor, it's going to be very easy to kill these units. So, and I sort of did this on purpose because I just wanted to show you for in-game terms. So you'll see he's at 2 entrenchment and he's at 0. So what you want to do is you want to bring your amphib and then you want to de-entrench. You hit once, don't land, and you de-entrench it. Once you de-entrench, then you want to bring your secondary attacks, which are carriers. Remember, heavy carriers can do damage. Light carriers cannot. So a light carrier can do a morale. So his morale is at 50. His morale is at 50. So if I hit with a light carrier down here, his morale is now down to 49%. What is the morale damage? It's 20 for a light carrier and a 20 for a main carrier. Whereas in the heavy carriers, or regular carriers can actually do both the same amount of morale and then actual damage, as you can see here by the numbers. So de-entrench first. Don't land yet. You can do morale damage with your carriers if you got carriers in there. If not, come in with a battleship. At least with a battleship, there is a chance of actually doing damage, and you also get the 10% morale damage. So you hit with a battleship, loosen the enemy up, pull them back, hit the carriers, and then invade, and then get your secondary attack. So in this case, for this one, you want to try to hit a little bit harder. Interesting, the numbers changed. You will always be able to move one hex on an amphib. That is actually part of the base game. And if you can't take the city in one turn, always have an HQ that can drop in, because the HQ, normally when units are cut off, they run out of supply right away. On an amphibious invasion, I think you get basically 2 turns before you run out of supplies. So you'll get next turn, and this turn and next turn, and then you must have a resource by then. If not, you're in trouble. So let's go ahead and loosen this guy up. Almost there. And amphibious invasions are not meant to be easy, even with these guys being miners and almost out of supply. It was difficult. I still got it, and I could probably tweak it and do a better job, but this is just for demonstration purposes on the combination to do so that you can advance in the Pacific. Because I know some people are going to be scratching their head saying, well, how do I actually take an island? Well, there you go. Battleships come in handy with their damage. Dreadnoughts will come in handy as they do short. They're the only units between dreadnoughts, say soft and hard attack. You have, where are you? Dreadnoughts. See, they get soft and hard. Battleship, soft and hard. So they're the only surface units that can actually do damage. So remember, de-entrench first before you invade, then start doing morale and damage support units, then land and try to take out the unit so you can get the hex. And that's pretty much it. Very, very simple for combinations on ships. I'm not going to go much into strategies other with ships, like doing escorts and things like that, because each player does their own thing. I've seen some people use submarines and then go out as they form like a layer around it. Some people use light cruisers, destroyers. Some people just create one big long blob in a line. I personally like to split my fleets up into different areas and keep scouts out in front to see what's coming at me, so I can make my opponent either split their fleet or decide where they're going to go. A lot of it also has to do with, do I have an advantage or not on carriers and stuff. So that's about it. I hope this tutorial helps people in understanding how to advance in the Pacific and how to take islands and how to sort of use your fleets. And if you have better ways of doing it, please leave stuff in the comments. And if something is really, really good, I may just update this video with whatever changes or ideas you come up with. Again, thank you, everybody, and you take care.